Pew 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 pew. Pew 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 pew. Aww. Star Wars Battlefront 2 is a game developed by Pandemic Studios and published by LucasArts, which was released in late 2005. The game pretty much tells the Star Wars story from film 2 to 4, and then splits from the canonical tale into an alternate timeline in which the Empire crushes the Rebellion. In the campaign you play as a nameless soldier in the 501st, a special legion in the Clone Army. You're right there on the battlefront, trying to complete objectives and all around avoiding getting shot by drones at first and dirty rebel scum after the Emperor takes over. There's a range of up to 5 different loadouts from which to choose, each with their unique abilities, pros and cons. At the end of many of the missions, you'll be offered to play as a hero unique to the map and timeline, which helps to liven up the missions a lot. It also feels like a reward for making it to the end of the level. It's fun to shoot droids in the face, it's even more satisfying to slice them in twain with a lightsaber. You and your fellow foot soldiers are pretty much responsible for winning the war against the CIS, the Confederacy of Independent Systems, and against the rebels as well. After defeating the CIS, you become stormtroopers, and after having fought numerous times at Darth Vader's side, your legion is given the nickname Vader's Fist. You are the best of the best, but don't let that fool you, as you also go through, and I quote, the worst of the war. Like watching as your fellow soldiers get ripped apart by droid rifles, space explosions, and even scary alien bugs on a distant planet. The narrator, who is a veteran of the 501st, does a good job of conveying the horrors of the wars and battles in which you fight. This makes for great atmosphere throughout the entire single-player campaign, which will ultimately leave you glad you checked it out. The events that take place at the end of the campaign aren't at all seen as canonical to the franchise, but it is interesting to see it develop and to contemplate what it means for the universe that the rebels were unsuccessful in their endeavours to stop the Empire in their tracks. All in all, the campaign is very short and isn't at all the meat of the game. There's also the multiplayer part, which I'll discuss later, and a turn-based strategy mode. The strategy mode plays much like a board game. You play as one faction and try to conquer, or rescue, depending on where your allegiance lies, planets on the star map from the opposing faction. The faction with the most planets under their control wins the game. You fly to planets on your spaceship and then actually go down to the surface with a handful of troops to try and kill all the enemy soldiers. Whilst on the space map, you can buy new types of soldiers for your ground army, and even buy upgrades that'll help you on the surface. The money used is called credits. Credits are gained from conquering planets or even from failing to do so. It's a fun extra mode to dabble into every now and then. The games don't actually take very long, depending on how well you do, and you get to conquer the galaxy as either the clone troopers, the stormtroopers, the rebels, or even the CIS. The most enjoyable and memorable part of the game is the online or local multiplayer. It's your standard multiplayer shooter but set in the Star Wars universe. All of the locations are straight from the films and have been modeled to great detail. You remember such classic locations as Coruscant, Hoth, and of course the Death Star. The developers have done a fantastic job of recreating the Star Wars feel. You're totally immersed, believing that you're shooting the drones to bits with your laser rifle, or even that you're tipping the scales as a named Jedi Knight. If you do well, you'll be offered to play as a character from the films. You can play as Obi-Wan Kenobi, Darth Vader, Han Solo, or even Chewbacca. These hero characters are much stronger than the average soldier, but because they gradually lose health, have limited energy, and can't make use of the healing droids, they're not too overpowered. Granted, on some maps with tight corridors, you'll feel very cheated once the enemy team gets a hold of a Jedi hero, but it's nothing good teamwork and a ton of explosives can't fix. The heroes are also unique to the maps. You won't be playing as Anakin Skywalker on Hoth or Leia on Coruscant during the Clone Wars, which does help not to break the immersion at all. There's even a special multiplayer mode in which everyone can play as either a good guy or a bad guy from the films. However, this is only an available mode for the Tatooine map, so enjoy seeing that planet a bunch of times if you only like playing heroes versus villains. Because of the variety of classes from which you can choose, you do feel like part of a ground army. Every class is also unique in their pros and cons. There's the traditional rifleman, who's good at cutting down enemies, the sniper unit, who's good at taking out enemies from great distances, the engineer, who's good versus enemies at a moderate or close distance and can repair droids, structures, and vehicles. Yes, you heard that right, vehicles. You can actually ride speeder bikes on Endor. Or even AT-ATs on Hoth. You can even fly a spaceship on Hoth, fly around an AT-AT and tip it over using the cable mechanism your passenger controls. Everything that was good about Star Wars is in this game. Okay, maybe not everything, but most of it. Besides the ground combat, there's also wonderful space combat in which you fly around in the iconic X-Wings or TIE Fighters to shoot your enemies out of the skies space. Or you can get in a bomber and help take down the enemy's flagship, rendering it useless and winning you the battle. You can even get in a spacecraft, fly to the enemy's ship, land in their hangar, steal one of their bombs, and continue to destroy the enemy's mothership to win the match. If flying isn't your thing and yet still find yourself in a space match, you can enter the enemy's vessel via the hangar and wreck its systems from the inside. While this is the most efficient way of winning the space match, it's also the least fun one. In a space match, you need to reach 180 points before the enemy team does. You get points by destroying their mothership systems, by shooting down enemy fighters, or by destroying cruisers that are accompanying the flagship. Destroying these systems from within is the quickest way to do so and grants you a lot of points. However, flying around does feel very fast and gunning down enemies is very satisfying in this game, so it's up to you if you'd rather win quickly or funly. Shut up. The multiplayer has a bunch of different modes you can play. There's the standard mode called Conquest, in which 2 teams try to take over all 5 command posts before their reinforcements run out. There's the traditional Capture the Flag mode. There's a mode called Hunt, in which 2 teams try to kill as many of an indigenous species on a certain planet, which does sound horrible when I say it like that, but I'm sure it's quite fun. Assault, which is the space mode I mentioned earlier, and Hero Assault, which is the same as the space mode, only it's on Tatooine. You play as a hero and it's more of a traditional deathmatch setting. You'll mostly be playing Conquest on the ground and Assault in space, as these are the 2 most standard game modes in the game, and the, from my personal experience, 2 most enjoyable ones. I do like myself some Hero Assault every now and then, but because of the lack of maps on which you can play and the inherent nature of this mode, it gets a bit dull after 4 or 5 matches. All that said, you'd be a person whose intellect I question if you were to let this game pass you by. It's hours, days, weeks, months and years of fun you could be missing out on. You will not regret buying this game, not only because a sequel has been announced at E3, but also because the game currently only costs €9 on Steam. There's still plenty of modding, dedicated servers and multiplayer going on every single day, so for the price of admission you could really do a lot worse than buying this game. Thank you for watching my video on Star Wars Battlefront 2. If you liked watching this video, consider clicking like and posting a comment if you somehow feel I didn't praise the game enough, or if I praise it too much. Do subscribe if you'd like to be notified of when my next video is released. Alternatively, you could like my page on Facebook, as I do post when a new video is done and uploaded. If you'd like to see more of my videos, you can click the annotation on the screen, which will take you to a video I did about Saints Row 3. Thanks again for watching and have a nice day.